Oh. Okay. All right, guys. We have chest today and I'm a lot of breath. I just did a warm-up, 2 warm-up sets actually. So we're starting with incline dumbbell press. I think I'm just going to do just chest today. We'll see if there's time. I might do a bit of triceps towards the end and maybe a bit of lateral raises in sort of like a new way of doing them. Well, new way, different type of form, just to target more of those mid delt fibers. For now, we are starting with a slight incline dumbbell press. So like I just mentioned, I did 2 warm-up sets. I did them back to back, minimal rest. And I think the focus today, guys, honestly, is just to literally stay focused and yeah, just have fun with it. I'm gonna do movements that I like doing today. So if some things seem redundant, I don't care, deal with it. The bench is creaking when I'm doing it, and I just envision it literally just collapsing, which would not be good. I think we're gonna go up. 115s today for second set. I think we're gonna go to 120s. Felt good. Feeling strong, feeling focused, and feeling strong, which is good. I left my shaker cup in the bathroom, so I'm gonna have to go get that. BRB. Oh, come on. Heavy. I'm gonna do one more set there. I feel like I could get a little more reps, but if not, it's not a big deal. I'm still happy with that. That was good control. I think that was 5 reps. Last time I did these was like maybe 4 days ago, but I had a training partner and he said 8, I said 6. I think we settled on 7. So I think I got around 6 or 7 reps with a spot and a help up on the beginning. So I'll take 5 on my own, that's fine. And secured the shaker. It was in the bathroom while the guy was going to the bathroom, so that was fun. I didn't go in while he was going to the bathroom. What I'm saying is that was in there while he was going to the bathroom. I asked him if he spiked it with some secret sauce to get me these 7 reps for the 120s. Now remember, for the form for these, you really want to make sure that you're keeping that chest up high the entire time. If you're doing incline, if you're doing any sort of angle, keep the chest up the entire time. You can even arch your back. That's completely fine. The goal is to keep that chest high, keep that sternum high, keep that rib cage expanded to create as much stretch and length in those pecs. Now, the goal is to control every rep, control that eccentric. Even though we're going heavy, even though I'm only getting about 4 to 6 reps on these. I'm okay with that because I don't want to rush this movement. I'd rather get lower amount of reps that are quality reps than trying to do half reps or, you know, partial reps from the top and just coming down halfway where I'm strong and then just trying to rep it out. I'm not trying to rep it out. I'm trying to create as deep of a stretch as possible. I'm going down as far as I can comfortably go. So if you guys watch me, some of you might say that that's pretty deep in terms of range. And then others might be like, you're not going down far enough. None of that. It depends on each person. For those of you watching, you know my right shoulder is always just nagging. I can't go down as far on my right side as I can on my left. Sometimes it sticks in a position where it just hurts. So I got to work with what I have available to me in terms of the range. So I'm only going down to what's comfortable for me and what I can control under this load. Because we're going heavier, because we're using a lower amount of reps, I really want to make sure that I'm having as much control as possible and I'm not allowing this weight to control me. I don't want to get injured, so I'm just focusing on coming down to that deep stretch and then driving up. And I'm not thinking about bringing my hands together. I don't really want to stack the joints. I'm just thinking about driving that bicep in towards my chest. So now some of those reps I might not come the full way. I might come to about here. But again, I'm doing the best I can under this weight because I do want to get stronger. And I'm trying to progressively overload on purpose. So still trying to keep the form near perfect, but not too rigid to the point where it detracts from my performance. It's gonna be the last set. That was good. That was 6 reps. I'm counting that first one as a rep. Oh, that's good. Okay. Moving on. Put these machines any closer. We are going to use these yoga blocks to, hold on, how's this going to work? There we go. We're using the yoga blocks to increase the starting position. So that way I'm not cranking my shoulders and everything back just to get into the starting position. I can start further away from my body, especially when we go heavier. So I'm going to go up to 3 plates. It's hard as shit to lock yourself in that position as this weight progresses on this machine. So I like using these yoga blocks just to kind of increase that starting position, just to give me a bit more of just leverage out of the bottom. And the great thing with the yoga blocks is because they're super light. Like, I mean, you can wedge anything in between this, but they're super light so that when you release those handles and you start pushing and they drop, you're not going to hit your foot. So it's not like you're putting 5 or 10 pound plates underneath that to wedge that. And then you have to worry about them falling down, potentially hitting, you know, your phone or things like that you have laying around, other people, or even your feet or yourself, right? So the yoga blocks are great. If you don't have access to the yoga blocks, you can also use, which are here, some people do use these, are these barbell collars. Same exact thing, you just place this underneath that rubber stopper. It's good. We're gonna do another set there. Probably not gonna go heavier. Maybe. No. Maybe. No. No, this is good weight. I'm getting like 6 to 8 quality reps with like 3 to 4 partials, which is cool. I feel good control. I feel strong. No point in going heavier. At that point, it's just ego. If I was hitting 12 reps, 100% I'd go up in weight. But because I'm hovering between that 8 to 10, this is a good weight. Feels challenging. Actually, speaking of redundancy too, even though this is incline and I did incline dumbbell press over there, incline dumbbells, peak tension is going to be primarily in the lengthened range. So in that bottom range here. Whereas this, even though this is incline, so it's still similar arm path, peak tension is actually going to be in the top or end range. So it's actually slightly lighter in this sort of bottom beginning starting range. And as you press, the movement gets a lot heavier. And you can just kind of visually see that. Basically, once this arm and this lever right here, once this becomes parallel with the ground, that's going to be the heaviest part of the movement. Now, we don't have long enough arms to push that all the way up there, but that's kind of what the resistance looks like. It's an ascending resistance profile, meaning it gets heavier towards the top. Do one more set there, and then we're going to move on. Some people experience shoulder pain on this machine, or they feel too much shoulder use on this particular hammer strength incline press. That could be a result of a few things. It could be a result of, one, the setup of the seat, so how low or how high that seat is, depending on how tall you are, right? So if the lower the seat, the more elbow flare you're essentially going to have, and the more elbow flare you have, typically speaking, the more shoulders you're going to feel. So you want to try to find that sweet spot that's not too high, but also not too low, right? If it's too high, it's also going to keep your elbows more tucked, so you're going to have a bit more tricep recruitment. Find the sweet spot that works for you. I say too high, too low very loosely, because that's going to be dependent on what works best for you. Some people like sitting super low and actually leaning more in the direction of the handles. I would argue you're working a little less upper chest that way, and maybe targeting a bit more of those mid fibers like you would a flat press. But again, if you feel less shoulder recruitment and you can still hit that mid and upper pec fiber by leaning away from it like this in the direction of those handles, so you're kind of matching that angle, it's completely fine. And then last thing, it could also be what I talked about in the beginning. You might be working outside of your active range. All I mean by that is actively pulling your shoulders and elbows back behind you. You may not be able to actually get into that position where the handles originally start. It might be too much for you to actually kind of get into that position. What I mean, again, is you might have to be manipulating your shoulder position to start in that position. And then as you press up, you're kind of resetting up, if that makes sense. Hopefully that made sense. Like, it's too tight to get into, so you're manipulating your shoulder and body position just to initiate that first rep, so you can then get kind of situated in the position that feels best for you. If you notice yourself doing that, that could be the starting position is just way too far back. And I find this machine in general is really far back. The benefit of this machine, because it's being so far back, is you get an awesome stretch. You get deep range of motion, but I'd argue almost too deep, where you're outside of that active range, and then it goes more into passive range, where the weight's now pushing you in that direction. You're not actually actively pulling yourself back into that direction. That's, again, using these yoga blocks. For someone like myself, my left shoulder does hurt in certain positions, especially on this machine, but it hurts when I crank it all the way back and I'm kind of manipulating in a weird position just to get this machine going. But if I have these yoga blocks here, I feel much stronger in my shoulders, and definitely I feel it more in my actual chest and pecs and less in my actual shoulders, because I'm not manipulating them to get into that range. And that's another reason right there, when you notice, I don't come all the way down and then let go. I literally stop right around here, which is comfortable, and then I just kind of drop them. Just because if I let the weight pull me back, it's going to hurt my shoulders. Okay, that's it. We're going to move on. I think we're going to do a decline press. just to hit the chest from a different angle. Finish off with some flies, and if there's time, we will do tricep mid delt superset. Should probably use the yoga blocks on this one too, but actually no, I don't have to. Forgot you can adjust the seat. See, this is the cool part of this machine, is you can actually adjust the back pad back, so you're not necessarily so close to that starting position. One thing that's helped me with my decline pressing, when you're pressing on a decline machine, we have it ingrained in us that we think shoulders down and back for all pressing movements for our chest. Shoulders down and back, shoulders down and back. I don't love that sort of perspective or that method for every chest exercise. And the reason being is because it's going to be dependent on your actual arm path. Now, what I mean by that is, because we're doing a decline press, I'm in this plane of motion, right? I'm pressing from a high to low position. I'm literally pressing in the direction of these lower pec fibers. It wouldn't make sense to have my shoulders down if I'm pressing high, right? So I want to have my shoulders actually just naturally where they would feel comfortable, which is actually towards my ears in this position. Because if I'm wanting to press in the direction of this machine, well, the path of this machine kind of starts high, scoops down, and then forward like this. So I want to match that with my shoulder and arm path as well. So I'm starting, as opposed to having my shoulders down and back, I'm having my shoulders still naturally back behind me. I'm pulling them back behind me because I want to create as much stretch and length in those pecs, but I'm also keeping them up. So I'm shrugging actually up towards my ears intentionally. I'm not keeping them shrugged the entire time necessarily. I'm allowing them to move naturally through the movement, but I'm starting in this high shrugged and back position. And then as I press, I'm allowing my shoulders to move naturally, you know, down or forward, basically in the direction of these actual handles. So when you're using a machine, start off with just feeling and understanding the direction and the path that machine is going in. And you want to kind of work in that path. Another example is, you know, where your elbow is going to be positioned, right? Like it wouldn't make sense to do that shoulders down and back and then have my elbows tucked in, like everyone always says, is keep elbows tucked. Because now if you notice, I don't know which way is easier to see, probably both. But if I'm starting with my elbow tucked in this position like this, my elbow and the path of my arm is now going vertical, going straight across. But this machine starts by going down first and then across and then back up slightly. So I want to actually start with my elbow in the direction that the machine is going in. The same thing on incline. It wouldn't make sense to be pressing straight if the handles are moving up, right? I'd be pressing against the direction of the actual machine, thus putting more strain on my actual shoulders and then actually working harder, not smarter. So, okay, next set. I'm gonna go heavier. Fourth and final set on here. We did a lot of sets, but I really like this machine. So for the form, this is going to apply to across all decline pressing movements. I'm keeping, like I said, my shoulders elevated, shrugged up towards my ears on purpose. I'm intentionally doing that, but I'm still keeping them pulled back. So I'm keeping them high and back. Up and back is kind of what I'm thinking about. Create as much length in my pecs as possible. Next, I'm grabbing the handles slightly wider than shoulder width. Okay, whatever's comfortable for you. Just know that the more narrow you hold, the more tricep you may feel. The wider you hold, the more shoulder or potentially pec you feel. Find a grip that feels comfortable for you. And then lastly, make sure that your elbows or your biceps are pointed in the direction of those handles. So what I mean by that again is I'm in the direction of the actual path of the movement by starting in this position here, because the initial movement is down. So I want to have my elbows elevated up and having my bicep and elbows almost in line with this handle the entire time. Keeping that chest up high as always. So I'm not rounding forward like this. Now, I'm going to go a little lighter and I want to show you what I'm thinking about in terms of the execution of the actual rep, not just the setup. So we kind of just covered the setup there because it's hard for me to talk and obviously get the most out of my sets at a particular heavy weight. So I'm here in this starting position, elbows flared back and up, biceps in the direction of those handles, and then shoulders elevated. As I press, I'm pressing down but scooping underneath. So keeping elbows stacked underneath those handles the entire time. So I'm not like this, okay? So I'm coming up, scooping underneath, driving those biceps into my pecs. Now you can rock your torso a little bit. That can actually help further accentuate the movement and sort of get the most out of your, get the most out of the movement and almost feel your pecs contract more because you're allowing yourself to move naturally with the machine. So I'm here, and as I press, scooping and almost falling away from the machine. So I'm driving my back into that pad behind me. Coming forward a little bit just to create that stretch. I'm tired. Hopefully you guys get that. Okay, we're gonna move on. Last exercise, we're gonna do some cable flies. Seated on a machine. I will see you there. We got 2 more sets. 2 more working sets. Still aiming for that 8 to 10. But this is that point of the workout where we start to lose focus because we're tired. The key is to not go on your phone. Stay focused. Stay in the actual workout, no matter how tired you are. Oh. That's it for this. We're going to finish off with some triceps and a mid delt superset. Lastly though, for this movement, you could use whatever you want. You could do standing cable flies. You could do a high to low, low to high. I really don't care. Straight across. The form is still going to be the same, whether you do it seated with a back rest, standing with no rest. You're literally just thinking about creating a deep stretch, again, by lifting that chest and sternum up high, inhaling to sort of exaggerate that stretch. It's not mandatory that you do that. But again, it's things that I like to utilize to kind of help facilitate more of a stretch. I'll inhale, expand that rib cage, pull those shoulders back, keeping that chest up high. And then all I'm thinking about is as I drive through, I'm gradually straightening out my arms, driving those biceps into my pecs. That's why when you see me do this, I'm not bringing my hands together because I don't really care about where my hands are in space when I'm doing this movement. I care more so about this upper part of my arm. So all I'm thinking about is driving that into my pecs. The minute I can drive that as hard as I can into my pecs, that's pretty much the full range of the movement, the full contraction. Anything else is just my hands coming together. And if I think about my hands, I'm more likely going to be doing this and keeping my arms bent. So I want to keep them bent on the negative, again, because I don't want to put too much stress on those biceps. But then as I fly forward, I'm thinking about straightening out those arms and driving biceps in towards my pecs, squeezing. And then obviously as you start to fail towards the end of your set, you're just staying in that range, in that lengthened range, to get the most out of the actual movement. All right, we're gonna move on to some triceps and some mid delts. That was just kind of a warm-up, just to warm up the elbows. Even though it's the end of the workout, my elbows should be warm. But in this particular movement, it can cause a little elbow discomfort for myself, and I know for many others. So just start light and then work your way up to a heavier weight. Okay, we're gonna do that supersetted with, I'm not even gonna go heavy today on the laterals. All I'm thinking about is protracting forward. This is actually something I saw on a recent video of Ryan Humiston, and I liked it because the theory behind it is and this probably will help my shoulder, is we're going to be protracting, so almost flaring the lats, but protracting our shoulders forward. It's going to look like an awkward position, and then internally rotating our humerus or our shoulder. So I'm kicking elbows up, protracting shoulders forward, and then doing a lateral raise like this. Okay, I don't really care about how straight my arms are, keeping them slightly bent because that's what's comfortable for me in this movement. And I'm only coming up to what's comfortable again for me. Because this shoulder hurts, I probably have a slight impingement. So as I come up even higher, I do feel a little bit of discomfort. As long as I stay in that scapular plane, I'm a bit better. I'm only going as high as I comfortably can. So if you guys are watching and you see, hey, you're not going that high, you're kind of looking like you're doing partials, it's intentional. You guys can go as high as you want, and you can be as internally rotated as you want. Don't get too crazy with it. Don't try to crank your shoulders like this. Just do what's comfortable and what feels right. Now, the theory behind this, by protracting forward, I'm keeping my scapulas stable the entire time, which I think actually is more beneficial for my shoulder. I think I suffer from some sort of scapular dysrhythmia or instability, and I think that's why I have a lot of shoulder discomfort. So by me protracting forward, I'm keeping shoulders stable, my shoulder blades stable and locked in a position the entire time, still allowing them to move in upward rotation, but I'm not letting them move around too much. By internally rotating, I'm actually just targeting much more of that mid-delt fibers. So of those mid-delt fibers, by internally rotating, I'm completely eliminating the front delt and some of that rear delt as well. And I'm also eliminating some of those traps again by protracting. So I'm not really going to be engaging much traps. So this is what it's going to look like. Okay, I'm not even gonna go to failure really. That is awkward as shit. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really fucking weird. I might not even be doing it properly fully. I'm just trying to get the hang of it. That's also why I'm going pretty light for me. I'm only doing 15 pounds. I might go up in weight, probably not, to be honest. I just want to kind of get the form down and just try to target those mid delts as much as I can without any sort of other muscles recruiting as much. That's that. We got 2 more sets of this back to back. We're gonna get to it. Okay. Okay. That felt better. That was kind of like, what I'm using is like my lats. So I'm flaring my lats, pushing my shoulders forward, and almost using my lats to sort of catch at the bottom the momentum. I'm not really trying to use momentum, but I'm almost using my lats as leverage almost to stretch that mid delt a bit more as I come down. So I'm not sinking back, keeping them forward the entire time in this position here. Again, it looks really weird and it looks like I don't know what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing, but we're trying. For those of you watching, if you're just starting out on your fitness journey, or even if you've been doing this for a while and you kind of took time off and you're just getting back into it, you feel a little lost or you don't really know the direction you're kind of headed in, you have an idea of the goal. One thing is don't get caught up in the actual goal. Try to focus on the process and try to just use this time to gather as much data to see what works best for your body. So I always say, I don't always say, but I say it sometimes, is try everything, right? Try everything. Obviously, there's a caveat. Don't try stuff that you're going to get injured on. That's like crazy. But try different variations, different exercises, different machines. See what feels best for you. Different setups even, different types of form, just to see what feels best for you. What I say and what I teach in my videos is not the be all or end all, but it's a starting point. It's for you guys to just try, give you a baseline to start from so you have some idea in your head of what your kind of target is for that specific exercise. But again, it's not the be all or end all. So if it doesn't feel right for you, that's fine. Tweak things to what feels most comfortable for you, but try everything. So my point is just when you're just starting out or you're just coming back in after a long layoff, is focus on the process. Use that time to just enjoy what it is you're doing, gather the data. That way you can actually learn from it. I think a lot of it is in this crazy fast-paced world, we become sort of cognitive misers. What I mean by that is we kind of want to rush to the end point. Even if you're listening to me talk right now, you're probably like, hey, get on with it. What's the point that you're trying to get across? That's kind of a cognitive miser mindset. I mean, we all have it. We all try to rush to the end to get that result. We don't like to do any sort of mental gymnastics or cognitive or critical thinking to actually come up with an idea or a solution. We kind of want to rush to that end point and find the path of least resistance or that easier way out. And I think we also do that in the physical world. I think we do that with our goals. I think when we're here, we try to rush to that end result and we rush to get that goal. But if you can just slow down, use this time to just kind of learn, understand the process, gather as much data, you're going to actually be able to make more progress long-term because you're going to be more cognizant of your mistakes. You'll learn from your mistakes. You know, if we go the cognitive miser mindset, you fast track through it sometimes because you didn't pay attention to what it is you're doing, and months go on and down the road, you start to realize like, shit, why am I doing the same mistake over and over and over again? I keep making the same mistake. And I think that's honestly a result of just focused too much on that end goal and not enough as actually being present in the process. So keep that in mind. We got one more set though, and that's gonna be it. Now my form on these is intentionally half reps. So I'm going all the way down, getting that deep stretch, coming up halfway, maybe 3/4 of a rep intentionally. Oh, man. Okay. Step back after. Now, if you notice, I'm staying in what's called the scapular plane, so I'm not directly out beside me and obviously not in front of me. I'm kind of at that 45-degree angle roughly. Again, visualizing almost like I'm pushing these weights out and away from me, like I'm trying to reach out and touch the corners of the wall in front of me. Okay, that's it. All right, guys. That's it for today. Remember, focus on the process. Be present in the process. Enjoy the process. Don't focus so much on the end goal. Don't try to rush to your goals. Take time and enjoy it, because you're going to be less stressed in the long run. But as always, continue to work hard. Continue to be intentional with your movements. Be diligent. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.